Peasant Productions presents the Math of ESP. Why it works, even if you don't believe in it. As you can see, I've been stringing a whole lot of human behavior together to show you how you have now set yourself up for something you can't really win against. When you look at my string of wins and beating the system and being ahead of the game, it makes it very easy to see why a stepdad who hated me, and probably if he's still alive still hates me, made the comment that Peter doesn't talk much, but when he does, you had better listen. Because I have been, you know, when there was a car burning behind our house on Kalisher, yeah, I was the one that woke the family up and told them that, hey, you know, there's something burning behind our wood fence over there. You know, on up and down through the line, there's been a bunch of stuff. But more importantly, keep in mind, 1983, I wrote a single letter to President Reagan. I wrote it specifically to be stolen from me. So I left off, you know, any kind of return address, any kind of last name. I wrote it to look like it was written by a little kid using a highlighter, yellow highlighter pen. I addressed it directly to President Reagan with a child's scrawl and all that kind of stuff. It will, you know, the envelope will bear South Lake Tahoe, you know, postmark, because that's where it went from. And, you know, 4 months, 5 months later, President Reagan was up announcing this to the world that this was what they were going to do. Now, when you stop and consider that the International Space Station started out with 7 countries, and I gave it to the world. I didn't give it to the USA. I let them steal it from me so that they would begin creating it, but it was for the whole world. 35 years later, you are in absolute desperate need for that kind of long-winded concepting understanding of how you behave at a point in time when your society doesn't even accept facts. You're too busy running around screaming, oh, no, 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 my favorite person says it isn't real. I don't have to listen to data. I only have to believe what they say. And it doesn't matter whether you are pro-environmentalist, anti-environmentalist, pro-oil, anti-oil, pro-Trump, anti-Trump. You are literally spending all of your energy running around screaming it's the other person's fault. I could sit here and say that, you know, gee whiz, you know, I went out of my way when Raymond started getting very greedy and telling me making $2 or $3 million a day was just not enough money. He wanted more and more and more. I now live in his homeland, so to speak. He was born in America, but his family was heavily Spanish, Mexicans from, I believe, the Sonora area. You know, that's what this society is down here. Raymond did a lot of bragging about stuff that he never did anything to accomplish or produce any evidence of being able to actually do such things. Which here, now that I'm living in that culture entirely, yes, it's quite amusing. These people are so used to bragging that not a single one of them has picked up the Bible and read Revelation 2:17 about me yet. Not a single one of them has walked into their church and talked to any of their preachers about what it means for somebody to have actually received a mark by the hand of their God and has to claim that I don't belong to any religion and I never will, and no, I'm not going to marry any of your little Mexican women because you're all Christians and Catholics and they threw me out 57 years ago because I heard, yes, the Christian and Catholic Church have barred me from being Christian or Catholic because I heard Christ, El Cristo Originale, the original Christ, as far back as 1961, they knew of me and my existence. So I was told to get out and never, ever, 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 ever return. And my stepdad was equally informed and no, don't ever bring this person back into a church. It would be a very bad thing to do. And no, we're not going to tell you why. We're just going to tell you you have to do what we say or else. He wasn't a religious guy, but he did do what they say and never took me into church again. He didn't like being embarrassed. Okay, and then you have, on the other side of things, you have the fact that in 1992, December 31st, 1992, 11:35 p.m., my ex-wife, or my wife, walks in and announces that she did not marry me to marry me. She married me to be divorced. And it was time for her to have her divorce, and she had a child whose life she was going to destroy as well, so that she could get vengeance on her father, as her mother had gotten vengeance. She did destroy my son's life. Yes, he's having a rather pitiful time in comparison to what he could have had he had more of my strength and independence put into him, so that he understood that there's nothing wrong with going out and walking around the world and having your own opinion. It's rather the opposite. There's an awful lot wrong with having the opinion that everything's fake news unless you particularly want to get some money for it. And anyway, in 1993, of course, we enter into the court. We start going through the divorce proceedings. I get told by lawyers that they're not about to defend a man because all men are evil creatures. And in the course of the next 10, 12 years, I find that, yes, their whole entire system across the USA is built on the idea of having men and women fight. Therefore, they need to have the feminist movement there, but they need the feminist movement to be so scattered and disorganized that they don't realize that they are being used as a weapon against themselves and against men and against children, so that there's no equal rights. And you have a fascism system totally instilled by the time Donald Trump steps up and says, "Hey everybody, I'm your dictator, you will do as I say." Yeah, I'm sorry, but you see this whole thing going on. And in 1993, I shot a photograph of the courthouse itself. It was a rather nice photograph. I sent it off to the Eastman Company in Nevada City, and they happened to accept it as a postcard. And instead of my taking the $20 for the postcard, I told them, well, you can print as many as you want as long as you have my photo by Peter E. Vanderhoof. They have probably sold somewhere between, say, 50,000 and 100,000 of those postcards by now. Yeah, 1994 I released that. 2004, that courthouse literally broke my arm, the broken arm here, crushed my shoulder, crushed my rib cage, damaged my neck very badly, and all of this kind of stuff. And instead of doing anything medical for me, I was sentenced to 30 days with no medical treatment whatsoever. I was laughed at so much that my other 3 cellmates actually revolted. I got x-rays, okay? They did, my cellmates saw me taken out and brought back. And I was able to say, yes, I was in and I had x-rays. However, at no point in time was I ever, during those 30 days, given so much as a single aspirin. Therefore, that is called torture, both psychological and physical. They are using pain to force you to change your mind about something. Okay? So the United States government, which at that point in time, FBI and CIA would have been thoroughly aware of me because I had recently been outside the country, and my half-brother was working for Northrop Grumman as a very high security level computer technician specialist. Yeah. So you see, the problem that we have is that I am so well connected in that realm of spiritual that I am able to see and be aware of what's happening in this, and I'm actually in the winning hand. You know, we go back to 1983 and the, like I said, you have the International Space Station started with 7 countries, okay? And because of that, the distribution of the money that was created by that project was worldwide. It was not just to the United States government. It was not just to NASA. It was not just to the military machines of the United States. There's now 15 countries, including the USA, involved in it. At this point in time, the United States and Russia are talking about fighting each other, and Russia's the one that's sending up the supply rockets to the International Space Station until SpaceX actually gets its system going well enough that it can become a supply private enterprise to the International Space Station itself. You can kind of begin to understand the gist of what I'm saying, that in 35 years, a quick analysis of what I've produced in income for the whole planet is somewhere over $1 trillion. Okay? Free, gratis. You know, now I'm calling in that marker, so to speak, saying, hey, I'm doing Occupy ISS. I have set the pieces in motion at least 35 years in advance. I have all of the data and all of the facts that you are desperately in need of this. It does not matter if you're a Rothschild or you're a peasant in the streets of some poor Indonesian nation that just got wiped out by a tsunami and a 7.5 to 7.9 earthquake. You're in trouble. You don't have any choice. You've got 5 or 6 states in America underwater. You have all kinds of issues and problems in China. Japan is literally on, I think it's not, I checked the data, it looks like it's on its 9th hurricane passing over it right now. There's another one, 30W is now named Kongki, I believe it is, and it's going to come up and either take out Japan or Korea. Okay, so you have all of these exporting nations to the United States infrastructural commerce system, okay, that are underwater. India's underwater, Bangladesh is underwater, Pakistan is having problems, you know, Nigeria just flooded, which is big palm oil, in Europe and all these extreme users of the palm oil industry, which of course is mostly from the tropics of Africa on around to the tropics of Indonesia being where they grow it. So you have all of these problems, you have all of these issues, you have people running around screaming, there has to be a paradigm shift. And I'm sitting there saying, yes, the paradigm shift is you stop bickering about right, left, up, down, man, woman, boy, girl, child, adult, you know, all that kind of stuff. And you realize you're all on one planet and you have contaminated your one planet and you don't have any way to survive because you're all bickering around like a bunch of little kindergarten children, starting to realize that they are the problem and the only solution is by them starting to work together, and they are starting to call the United States for all of its trashy behavior, which means the Rothschilds are going to take a huge loss. The financial devastation they were not prepared for is now happening. Rockefeller is devastated. His empire is collapsing. He doesn't know what to do about the fact that, you know, that they need to get oil around, but we can't move it anywhere because the storms are messing everything up. Yes, Houston and Galveston, you know, are being inundated, and there's another hurricane on track for them. And 1 to 2 weeks from now, there's a possibility of another hurricane coming through the Houston-Galveston area. So yeah, you're just getting washed away, and you're starting to realize that just like here I am in Mexico, where these people are Christian and Catholic, and their whole system is built on insult. So they run around and they insult you until you become their friend. Their whole thing, of course, is that they're bragging about being wonderful Christians and Catholics. And like I keep pointing out, folks, if you actually sat down and read Revelations in here, if you read Revelations, it is about physical wealth being more important than your own lives. You refuse to be spiritual, and the gods have to come down and clean the mess up. Powerful prophecy on the planet is you will kill yourselves. Reality sucks.